Hello, this is Andrew Harrison introducing a special edition of The Bunker. As regular listeners know, our panellist Arthur Snell has friends all over the world, including Afghanistan. Last night, he managed to speak with one friend who's currently in hiding in Kabul to hear what the situation is really like on the ground there. We've chosen not to identify him for his own safety, but Arthur introduces him in inimitable fashion. Here's an edited version of their conversation.
Mullah Parmir Akhundzada. It's an honor to speak to you, Mullah.
Same here.
So, tell me what happened.
Tell me what's going on at your end.
Well, I'm safe. I want to hear about.
I flew.
Yeah, tell me.
Flew just 3 days before a coup d'etat against the Kabul, and we were thinking that it will take at least another month or so before the fall of Kabul came down, just to close down the accounts in the bank, and if it was possible to transfer the money out of here. And then all of a sudden, just within 2 days, we had a nightmare. And so the president fled the country with his team, and the personnel were all told that all will be fine, so we're going to bombard the Taliban tonight. The Americans are by our side, so flying from the Middle East, F-15, 16, and 18. So entirely, basically, everybody was told that, yes, we're going to fight them tonight. And at around 4 p.m., he country. Well, but there are rumors that he fled with a lot of cash, but no one can confirm this. Kabul was left without anything. So, and Abdullah, who's the chairman of the council, he came online at around, I think, 5 or 6 p.m., saying that the president fled, which was not a good idea to do this. And between that time and the morning, most of Kabul was looted by criminals, by gangs, by hooligans, just name it. Everyone under the name of Taliban.
And
were, taken weapons, registered weapons were taken, money, everything that they could have done, including they have taken some women from houses, houses that didn't have men. I have never seen such a hell in my life. One of my cars, which was standing on the road, on the main road, was taken away. My driver was outside, so they just took the key of him, and they said, this car belongs to the new Islamic Emirate. So my driver called me and said, do not resist because they can kill you, just give it to them. Yes, everybody is in big fear, and just a very small proportion of people who worked with the coalition forces managed to leave the country. People like me, I have registered myself for the evacuation, UK evacuation, but I was told just for the email when to be told what to do, But there are still Afghans, but there are still Brits. They're just white British people. Not living too far away from us. All stuck in their villas, residence. I managed to get outside yesterday just to walk around. It's quieter, but there is a very big fear. Hair salons, beauty salons are all closed down. Musicians are beaten up. You think that this is 13th century, back Stone Age era. It's not what you would see a week ago in Kabul. We live on imported electricity from Iran and Uzbekistan.
Right.
So Uzbekistan have cut their electricity because they don't recognize this government and they don't know who's going to pay the bill.
What do you think was the reason that the Afghan forces didn't stand up to them?
What we hear from the media is completely a different picture. A minister of defense for, the guy who basically overlooks after the logistics. I said, the Americans say that you guys had 300,000 combat forces. He said, it's a lie. We never had 300,000. The rest of them were all admin workers, admin staff at the Ministry of Defense, and the Americans are part of the 300,000. So the police were not actually doing the fight. The fight was conducted more or less by the army, and only 80,000 fighting at 21 fronts. The reason why they couldn't fight is because they were not getting the air support on time. So that was the actual reason. There was a shortage of air support. There was a shortage of equipment to be dropped to them on time. Plus, they were also getting commands from Kabul to give up certain areas in order to stop the bloodshed. So there was a combination of a lot. And Kabul was a total failure of the President Ghani.
He just left the gate open.
And have surrounded Kabul. Yes, he just left the gate open. Reports are coming that everything, whatever was looted in the first 2 days, it just is driven towards Torkham border and crossing into Pakistan, and no one can stop them. From what I see, it was a big win-win by the Russians, because the Russian embassy did not evacuate anyone. They did not evacuate a single staff from the embassy. The ambassador is on the streets, walking around with the Taliban. What a defeat they have given to the Afghan ally, strongest ally, the Americans and its coalition forces. If Afghanistan was called, the government was called as an ally, then there should have been enough of air support, to defeat these people. From what I hear from the armed forces, the generals, those who were in the battlefield, they were fighting properly. I mean, look at Helmand, how much of resistance there was against the Taliban in Kandahar too. But then when there was a lack of air support, so they couldn't really go any further. It's really, really upsetting. It's a country that was thrown 50 years back. The number of people that we've lost, the British, around 500 British soldiers, boys and girls, over almost 3,000 Americans, or probably over 3,000, let alone the other coalition forces. What was all this for? I came back to Afghanistan to work here to see that this country could be perhaps like one of the Middle Eastern countries with a prosperity, having a friendly relationship, business relationship with neighbors, in a perfect transit country between countries in the South Asia and the Euro-Asian countries. No, all of that gone within a week. The American flag at the embassy is down, the British flag at the embassy is down. That means diplomatically that they don't recognize this government. That's it. Recognition of this government will take years and years, if, of course, they stay in power.
What do you think will happen? Because they're trying to reassure the West. It seems like they're trying to reassure everybody. Do you think that's just propaganda?
It is absolute propaganda. Ever since the peace negotiations with Americans back in 2020, I believe it was, or 2019, they have been giving promises. None of that promise was fulfilled by the Taliban. They've promised that they're not going to attack major cities. They have done it. They promised that they're not going to enter the Kabul. They have done it. They promised that they will not harm civilians. They have done it. They have promised not to execute people like they used to. They have started executing comedians, journalists, armed forces personnel who have given up, peacefully, without resistance, just gave up fighting. I mean, you saw probably the videos that of over 30 commandos who were just assassinated. They would not give up. And these people, you're talking to people who have grown up in madrasas with an extreme religious view that the country is occupied by infidels. And we, as people who work for the government, or we as who lived in Kabul, or basically facilitated this whole stuff for the infidels to invade the country. These are brainwashed people. Why would they go and become suicide bombers? Because they're brainwashed. And it takes a long time, to prepare someone to become a suicide bomber, or to have a belief that we are not their friends, or at least we're not ordinary. Of course, statements comes from the upper chain, because now they know that they have taken the Kabul, they have taken the country. What is next? They will be isolated. How are they going to feed the nation? How are they going to feed themselves? How are they going to sustain? So for those reasons, they're giving all these fake promises to the international community that, no, we have changed. Of course, they have not changed. A person who was 1 year old in 2001 now is 2021. That boy or a girl is either served in the military or in the government, or was hoping to go into higher education. That person grew up with the Western mentality, with the different ideology, and now they see this dark ideology that came and imposing different rules on them. That is what's more scaring for the new generation than on us, because we have gone through that once before in our lives. So we know who these people are. The shock that the people see are the generation that is in their 20s, because they did not see what was going on in the 90s. They did not see what was going on in the 80s. Whatever they saw was a prosperity, yes. The majority of youth, they speak English, they're very much Western orientated, with smartphones, good hopes that they had. Everything was broken within a week.
What do you think, those people, obviously, do you think Western countries should be being more generous and more open in terms of refugees?
Of course, these people, they must be not only generous, they must allow these people to find a way, leave this country and be settled somewhere else. There was a time that when I left Afghanistan, fearing for my life, and I have returned when everything was fine. But then I don't think any Afghan would leave their country without having a fear. The majority of those people who were running into the airport were people who worked as interpreters, translators, cleaners. I mean, I have in around me probably over 10 people who have supplied the NATO, who have supplied the American Special Forces, who have worked very closely with Americans and the Brits. And I don't know what to do with these people. I can leave. I can leave at any time, perhaps. I mean, maybe this week or next week or within a month. But what will happen to these people?
Yeah.
This society, a particular small society of Afghans, who have helped the international community, they should be treated completely differently to those who are, coming to UK or other Western countries when it comes to, seeking asylum and for settlement.
What should people in the West do? The people that care about Afghanistan, that are very upset. Are there some charities they should support, or should they be contacting their MPs? What do you think?
I don't think the MPs can do much there because it's an extremely lengthy process. I think charities are the first because there is a very big relocation of Afghans within the country, fearing for their life, and also the IDPs, they call the internally displaced refugees. There are hundreds of thousands of them. In addition to that, what the West should do now is to put pressure not to recognize this barbaric regime for a very, very long time until everybody is assured that they are in line with at least what we had a week ago in terms of respecting, the rights of women, children, civil society, and have all those institutions that are strong pillars to any state. Currently, they're all broken.
Do you think there could be any change now? So, the Taliban are back. Is that the end of the story? Afghanistan has had so many different wars and revolutions. Is this just one in a list, or is this now the end of the story?
It's $1 million question. From what I see, for a very good 2-3 decades, it's the end of everything. Until something really major happens against the US or its coalition forces or the countries, the West, from Afghanistan, I don't think anybody would turn into Afghanistan anymore. I don't think the West would see Afghanistan as their ally, let alone ally. I don't think they would even see it as a country that matters anymore. It's difficult. I mean, I've been thinking about it for the last 2 days. What would need Afghanistan do in order to bring 10% of the attention that it used to have, or 10% of the attention that it had a month ago? I don't see anything. China is back into the game in Afghanistan. They are showing some signs of recognizing the Taliban. The Taliban are seeing Moscow as their probably perhaps second residence for travels. Pakistan is obviously would give a nice corridor to the Chinese, to get into the Central Asian countries. So Iran is also quite happy to see a big defeat for the West. Though it will be quite difficult for the US to defend what had happened in Afghanistan.
What are your plans for the next few days? You're just going to lie low?
Well, I'm staying in my place, my residence, so waiting for the call, because I know there's a very big rush on the military aircrafts, to board people to leave. So we are told just to stay at home, and as soon as I get the opportunity, I will leave. And I don't think I will have the chance to return back into this place where we have invested a lot, not in terms of financially, but also, our souls were here, thinking that everything will be fine. But no, we were wrong.
Well, look, I'm so sorry. I know, Mullah Akhundzada, I know you're a great survivor, and so please take care, and inshallah, we will see each other in a safe place soon.
I'm sure. I'll let you know as soon as I'm back there.
Please do.